question answered when we sit down with them on the couch. Whether they're pawning off expensive jewelry or hopping out of airplanes to fake their death, shady investment professionals are making a lot of headlines these days.
The Watchdog on Wall Street, Chris Markowski, is here to tell you how to avoid the crash and burn. Welcome back, Chris.
If I was to write these stories about these things that are going on, they'd think I was nuts.
Yeah, a Hollywood producer would look at the script and go, come on,
no way.
We need some plausibility here.
Right, a stunt guy in a plane that's got an investment company?
Yeah. A guy that bilks the nation for how many billion? Come on.
I won $10 on that because when that story broke, I was sitting in a green actually doing a hit for CNN, and they talked about, oh, this plane goes down near Florida, and the guy's missing. I'm like, $10. It's an investment guy trying to escape. I won.
Sure enough, it is. Yeah. Well, I think a lot of folks are wondering how can they avoid getting scammed by these kinds of guys.
I talked a little bit about this last week when I was on, and I think that the most surefire way of doing it, you can't rely upon the Securities and Exchange Commission. Chris Cox, no president's going to ever be able to save you because the world's second oldest profession are get-rich-quick con artists. Now we can ask Elliot Spitzer what the oldest one is. We'll put that aside.
And the third oldest is politicians, actually.
Everything in life that has meaning, value, and worth involves work, time, and effort.
Right.
So many times, I'll be driving around in my car listening to talk radio, and I'll hear some commercial out there saying, guaranteed stock market link results of 10% and bonus for this, and we're guaranteed to make you money. You hear these various different things. You've got to run away because it's simply not possible. It's going to take time. It's going to take work. It's going to take effort. The idea that there's some sort of financial engineer or financial alchemy is a complete lie. That's what we've been put through. All these smartest guys in the room in downtown New York told us, oh, yeah, I can package up all these mortgages and look what we can do. And boom, look what it blows up into. Whether it be Enron, whether it be any of these various different things, it's all the same.
Yeah, now, so you mentioned the SEC, and of course there are some government agencies that try to do a good job of protecting us, but ultimately, as you're telling us, it's up to you to do the due diligence and make sure that you're getting involved with the right kind of investment advisor. I think we have some tips to run through, some specifics here. We'll start with watch for conflict of interest.
Well, I'm a big believer that one of the main problems we're in a lot of the situations where we see a lot of these financial frauds is the fact that a lot of the financial companies, they create their own product, they sell their own product, they market their own product, they're involved in all different aspects, they're conflicted. Our Constitution, we're coming upon inauguration, has checks and balances. We have an executive, judicial, and legislative branch that breaks these all apart. Working with these big companies, the best analogy I can come up with, you wouldn't want your doctor being owned by Pfizer.
Right.
You go into a Ford dealership, you're going to get sold Fords. Everybody's financial situation is unique, so you want to go to somebody that has an independent opinion. That's not being selling, that company's products.
If we could throw up that graph just one more second there. You covered the beware of guarantees. Look out for affinity fraud. That's when somebody says, hey, I'm with your church, and so you know I'm a good guy. And check out investors at finra.org or cfp.net. That's where you can find out their history and if they're really the real deal.
Also sec.org as well. Talking about the grand conspiracy that since Mitch left and Andre took over, why the weather's so cold. You're going to have to do something, Andre, to warm things up. I'm sorry. You're going to have to get on a stick.
I don't know.
Well, she heats things up on the set, maybe not in the rest of the country.
I've been
you got that good, Andy.
A Hitchcock icy blonde, so maybe that's
girls. Well, listen, breaking up is hard to do, especially if you're a modern financial behemoth. But after receiving billions more in TARP funds and more dismal earning reports, executives at Citigroup are finally talking about doing just that. The Watchdog on Wall Street, Mr. Chris Markowski, is here to talk about the big and the bigger in banking. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning.
All right, so I saw this and I knew you'd be all over this. This is actually a positive development. They're talking about Citigroup maybe kind of, doing what Ma Bell did, right?
Well, that's in Citigroup's case. We got to think of all their stormtroopers are going over. Morgan Stanley's stormtroopers have run ramshot over the country. So who knows what's going to happen there? But the modern financial supermarket that Sandy Weil put together that thought was, was going to come to Citigroup and get everything and anything you wanted. Well, that's one big fail on the way out.
Yeah, and explain to folks, what the problem is, with these financial institutions being too big, trying to take too many facets of the financial world and put them all under one umbrella.
Well, I guess they're too big depending on who you are. If you're one of the peasants like us here that have to actually do business with them and interact with them on a regular basis, it stinks. But if you're one of the executives there that are getting huge pay packages, it's fantastic for you.
It's fantastic.
You've been making a fortune over the past several years.
Right.
You know, we've been talking about all this regulation. We need to have more regulation so all these credit crises and problems don't happen. We have it. It's called antitrust legislation. These companies are too big. They're monopolies. They needed to be broken up because they are conflicted.
Right, and we kept hearing, about things that are too big to fail. Well, I think, Citibank is a perfect example of something that's too big to succeed. It's just too big.
Yeah, they're involved in too many different facets of business. They got caught behind the 8 ball in regards to the credit crunch, and now it's for all intents and purposes, over.
Alrighty, and, so when it comes down to us, the little guy, we talk about these kind of things on the show, but when it comes to our personal banking, okay, when I'm going out there opening up a bank account, when I'm looking for a home loan, when I want to do investments, what should I go big? Should I go small? What are we talking about?
Yeah, everybody's situation is completely unique. I mean, you can go with a local credit union. You may have one at work. A lot of those are great. They give great rates, and you actually become a member there, and actually you're part owner of that institution. But, I mean, if you're looking for a mortgage rate, and let's say you go on one of the online companies, it's like Lending Tree, and you want to refinance your house, you're going to go to whatever the best rate you're going to get. Why not? It doesn't make any difference who is letting you borrow money, whether it be Citibank, whether it be Countrywide, whoever it may be. Get the best rate, what works best for you.
Right, but like it says on the screen there, when we're talking about investing, better to go with the little guy, right?
Well, we talked about this in the last segment in regards to conflicts of interest. And, like I said, you go into a car dealership with the nameplate out front, they're selling you that type of car. Now, your relationship with your financial planner needs to be one like you'd have with your doctor. One of the things that I did when I first moved down here to Florida 5 years ago was get a pediatrician for my kids. Went out, interviewed various different ones that fit our family best. You need to do so with your financial advisor.
Money guy Chris Markowski has been chatting with you in the Daily Buzz chat room, and then he's going to answer your questions right here on the air. You don't want to miss the Watchdog. Alrighty, well, all morning long we've been talking all things financial with our money guy Chris Markowski. The Watchdog on Wall Street is back to answer your questions. So, what were the folks buzzing about this morning in the chat room?
Actually, a lot of financial questions earlier on in the show, and it had a lot to do with investments and how to invest in a recession. And I'm glad to see that you guys are running a great special at nighttime that's coming up soon in regards to dealing with the recession. I try to put this into words that people kind of understand. Recessions are necessities. They have to happen.
Yeah.
But it's also a great opportunity to take advantage of. I just had an awful experience at a Best Buy, and I'm like, why are they doing this during a recession? Why don't they have the product in stock? If you own a business or you want to start a business, now's the time to do so.
Yeah, because the prices, we got bargain basement prices, and that goes for investing too. I know you'll love this. We got an email here from Ted in Norman, Oklahoma. Says, why should Americans pay for the faults of CEOs of big companies like Chrysler and Chevy? Who is held responsible, us or them? Maybe they have a few politicians in their pockets.
Well, we've talked about this before. Washington, D.C. and Wall Street are very close.
Yeah.
They all go out to dinner with one another. They fly in each other's planes. They all went to the same schools. And they're all telling us they're the smartest guys in the room. In reality, they're not so smart. If they were so smart, why did all of this happen? The auto industry is one where they came before Christmas time and they said, things are looking pretty tough. We need this $13 billion. We're going to go out of business. Doesn't necessarily mean the government may get that money back.
Right. Real quickly, I want to show folks something we talked about in the first hour, and these are tips to avoid being burned by guys like Madoff and Schrenker. Watch for conflict of interest. Beware of those guarantees when they tell you, oh, yeah, I can do better than the market. Look out for affinity fraud, like, hey, I'm in your church. That's why you should give me all your money. And check the affiliations, check church certifications at fnra.org and cfp.net.